Heyo everyone, welcome back to Plant Coaster Vaddjian, where we continue building the ride skin for the first ride of Vaddjian. So I hope you enjoyed the video and let's get straight into it, shall we? So in the last video I explained my reasoning behind the existence of this water steam heat station and how it was crucial for Vaddjian to grow, and I talked a lot about 3 thoughts that I had when building Vaddjian and how I approached Vaddjian a bit. So if you want to know more about that, I highly recommend you watch the last video. Though for this video it's not really necessary to watch the last video, because in this video I really just want to talk about the looks of the water steam heat station, which from now on I will be calling a station because it's less of a mouthful compared to water heat steam station. So I hope you guys understand. Anyway, the idea behind the look of the station is really that I want to put in a contrast between the more magical side of Vaddjian and the more machine-like side of Vaddjian, or the more realistic side of Vaddjian. And this mainly stems from the idea that I want Vaddjian to not be placed into the box of your average magical fairy tale Arabian town. I want Vaddjian to have a bit more of a complex identity. I want there to be a story behind Vaddjian, that there's this complex society behind Vaddjian, which if you look at it from what the game was intended to be, like the game Planet Coaster was really intended to be a game about building coasters, about building parks, and I really want to build a society in it, almost. I want there to be a culture, and I want there to be, as I said, a society. I want there to be a very complex identity to Vaddjian. That even if you visit Vaddjian for the 20th time, you still really don't know everything about Vaddjian. Well, one component of that identity and that culture is that magic, though huge as it is, for them isn't. For them it's so ingrained into their daily life that for them it's just another tool in their tool shed, one among many. And yes, it was crucial to their survival, but now it's so, as I said, ingrained into their daily life that for them it's not huge. Again, I want there to be this complex society, completely thought out, why building A is there, building B is there, that every building has its function. Though, well, the main problem is there aren't the animatronics to really support the culture and society thing, so you really have to show that through buildings and all the other stuff surrounding that, the scenery and the nature and everything. So it gives a challenge, but I really enjoy that challenge. It makes you come up with different things like, alright, this is kind of a daily problem, like how their culture or society have dealt with that problem. That really makes you come up with interesting things, such as this station. That's probably the smoothest transition to go back to the original topic that I have ever said. So for the look of the station, I really wanted to play more into the machine industrial feel, and the flat ride that's connected to it, which is Gears of Fear, really plays well onto that idea. That is mainly because the flat ride really shows it's a machine. There are spinning gears, there are chains, and there are puffs of smoke and fire, which I did expand upon, mainly the fire part, but even without external teaming, it really shows that it is a machine. And though the whole station on its own isn't really a machine, it still gives this slightly industrial feel. This mainly comes from all these gears and just all the activity buzzing around in this place. And even though the station is magically powered, because even if you want to make it not magical powered, it cannot be, because there would be a huge need of fuel to melt all the snow and ice and to make everything work. And as I said in videos before this, I don't imagine Vaddjian to have a lot of fuel. I actually make a point of it that there is the least amount of wood in the buildings as possible. Like, wood is only used to make shutters, to shield yourself from the cold. not to build buildings with. So when you think about it that way, yeah, magic is still vital to Vaddjian, but they approach it in a very different way. And you can see the magic because there are floating balls of ice and fire. I really like the floating balls of fire for some reason. When I was building the station, I was just in a fire mode. Like, there's maybe even a bit too much fire when you look at the station or the flat ride, because yeah, there are going to be toasted peeps. Anyway, back to, well, actually this time I didn't go off the ride. This is kind of strange. But yeah, getting back on the ride, it does have a kind of a machine-like feel, but it's more industrial feeling. But there are some, well, slightly realistic things, because you have the two towers on the, well, not the edges of the station, but on the sides of the station where all the ice and snow is being melted. And I thought immediately, like, yeah, this water is going to be, first of all, extremely hot, because when it goes down, it goes right next to the fire. It almost goes into the fire. I think it actually goes into the fire, so I might want to... Oh no, I actually put a pool above the fire, so yeah, it's still going to be just boiling hot. So I thought, like, alright, before they can use this water, A, it needs to cool down, B, it needs to be somewhere while it cools down. So in the middle of the ride or the station, I built these chambers where the water is basically stored until it's cooled down, and while it's stored there, there's obviously steam and heat coming off. So I really put forward the idea that the steam and the heat that's produced in these chambers is slightly visible, or actually extremely visible from the outside, but that's the main place where the heat is created. And to go into the rest of the station, of course there is going to be a magical way that this ice and snow is being collected, so I need to implement that. But there's going to be a huge load of water, so I wanted to basically almost make like a sewer system, or just a system that this water will be transported out and through the station. So behind the station I'm going to build, well, they are not really wrong when looking at Guild Wars 2. There are these huge, I don't think you can call them sewers, but they're just almost like huge waterfalls, man-made waterfalls, which when looking at it in like a machine-like way, this water that is falling down will probably go into these chambers where the hot water would be and cooling that water down, or it would be on a completely different thing. There is a word for it, but I forgot the word for it. But this water is still there to be able to cool the system down if it ever goes wrong, because you are playing with fire. So in the case of an emergency, this water could be used to extinguish the fire or get rid of the problems. Basically, I say, if this station overheats or erupts in fire, you can drown it with the water from this waterfall thingies. It's kind of realistic in that way. Also extremely unrealistic in that way. It's kind of both, which really shows the contrast between machine/industrial and magical, which is the thing I really wanted. So kudos to me for that. I, for the first time, really sticked with the idea. The peeps will probably be less happy because they are being torched while they are on the ride. I really, like, there are a ton of triggers on this ride because I wanted the place to be alive, but I still need to sort them out a little bit, because I don't think the idea of burning yourself really sells. Anyways, more to go with the idea of a machine and such is that there's actually no place you can see the source of the fire. It's just burning continuously. And this actually goes with what is in Guild Wars 2. There are places where, as I said, there are floating palaces. You don't really see anyone holding these things up. Well, there are like some gin and everything, but you don't really see them struggling to hold things up. You don't see a person really holding it up. They are probably that big of magic users that they don't really, for them it's not a big deal. But I really wanted to get that idea and just crunch it up into my idea of a machine-like thing, that it by now powers itself. That there's no need for external magic, as it were. Again, that the machine is semi-alive, because it doesn't need any external magic to power itself anymore. There's some kind of continuous magic loop on it. It does still need like external fuel, which does play on the waterfalls, because probably if the fire, well, if the snow and the ice runs out, the fire will probably still go on, and then then this place would be on fire. Or there would be like some magical security system, which also would be fun. There is, however, still the case of the ride operator, which I tried to hide away in its own little building, which again is still realistic. There would probably still be a person overlooking all of this, because it is still a high risk place. It is still, well, not chaotic, but still very powerful magic that's being used to power this thing. Even though it's on a continuous loop, it's still a lot of magic. If that goes wrong, yeah. Now I imagine that if this station would, go completely haywire, I do think it wouldn't be on the same force of maybe like a nuclear reactor, but still, it would probably take out half of Vaddjian. So let's hope it doesn't do that and continues to, just go on, even when you ride it. Don't think about that when you ride it, that you're basically riding the Vaddjian equivalent of a nuclear reactor. Yeah. How my mind comes to these places, I don't know. But I do like it. Anyways, to give you guys a quick wrap up of everything we talked about. First off, I talked about giving Vaddjian a really complex society, culture, and basically identity. Even though that's not really how you were intended to play this game, I really like building that way. I like giving my buildings and just every little piece in the park a story that connects to the larger overall story of the park. I know it's kind of mad and it's kind of crazy, but it really helps in giving a place an identity if everything is connected to a story. I'm also just completely mental and I'm just way overthinking things, and yeah, I'm a squirrel. Please don't blame me. I'm beyond saving by this point. Then the second thing I talked about is, well, it started with how I wanted the ride and the station to look, and it ended up in this place is extremely dangerous and powered by a huge amount of magic. So if it goes wrong, it probably has the half of the power of a nuclear blast. So don't think about that when you ride the ride. Anyways, I hope you liked the video. If you do, don't forget to subscribe, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.